Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Camille Essick. I am the host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. We have a treat. She is definitely someone I call sister and friend to the show. Our paths crossed during the pandemic, and we've been riding with each other ever since. But
Yes.
before we hop into anything else right now, what I need everyone to do, I need you to be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at the Speaker Podcast. I'm on YouTube at Camille Essex Official. We are so close to hitting our first major milestone of 10,000 downloads. I'm really excited about that. So I need you
Love
to
it.
subscribe. I'm on Instagram at Camille.Essick. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email at the speakerpodcast at gmail.com. Now that we've done all the plugging, well, a little bit of plugging, because I got a treat for y'all. We're going to share something tonight. Without further ado, the Roshanda Pratt, aka Dr. Roll. Yay! She's back, y'all. She's back.
I'm
Hey,
so
Queen.
I'm so glad to be back. And you're the only one that calls me Dr. Rowe. And I'm just sitting here contemplating my life like Camille always calls me that. And I really do
Because the
appreciate this being
PhD
with
is
you.
on you. I see it so strong. It's on you.
All right, don't start none and there won't be none. Don't start this now.
The doctor is in. Okay.
I'm glad to be here, girl.
I'm excited to have you. And y'all, so I'm gonna go ahead and push this now because I'm excited about this. Dr. Rowe, I'm gonna call her Dr. Rowe. She has a new book. Y'all, this is CEO of Live Video, and it is discover the fundamentals of dominating live video through the eyes of a television producer. So if you're wanting to get in front of the lens, start
Yes.
your social media, podcasting, YouTube, whatever, this is like your little Bible, okay?
Yes.
And this came at such a good time. And I was telling her this before the show because I'm in a space now of where I feel this push to be more present, but
Mm,
needed guidance and direction on how to do so. And so one day while scrolling, Roshanda had announced she had released this book. And first of all, I love her. So I was going to buy it anyway.
you're
But I
sweet.
was like, let me get this, even though inside of me was like, and it was like, no, you need to show up. You need to get this. And I did. And perusing it, y'all, is so much to digest. And when I
Wow.
say, when we pray about things and you want things, um, the provision comes. And so I'm really excited about this. And we're going to talk about this at the end of the show as well. But I definitely
Mhm.
wanted to let you all know in the beginning, before we hop into this conversation, that her book is here. And we're going to circle back to it. But I want y'all to know it's available and you need to get it. The information's right there. And
Yeah.
we're going to hop into everything. So before we get into tonight's conversation, how are you doing?
I am good. I'm excited to be here. It's always such a great conversation, great energy, great time when we're together. I'm
Yes.
excited. I'm excited that you are enjoying the book. That means a lot to me because when you spend so much time working on something for a year, right? And you put it out here in the world and you don't want to just put out fluff out there. You hope that it impacts people. You hope that they find it useful and beneficial. So to hear you excited about the book and talking about like there's so much to digest, this is really is good, does my heart good because that was the whole point. I wanted this to be a manual for people when it comes to them showing up online
Yes.
using this medium and platform that we're using live stream.
Yes. And also give a little bit about your background because,
Yeah.
people have a microphone, but they don't have receipts, but you do. You have receipts.
I love you. So my background, I started in television in the fourth grade. I know you didn't think they were hiring that early, but my mom and dad are from Trinidad and Tobago. And as the Yankee Doodle of the family, my dad told me in the fourth grade it was my responsibility and duty to know what's going on in my country and my community. So while my
Yes.
friends were watching cartoons, I was learning about Reaganomics, the Gulf War, and learning about all the things that were happening in the world by watching television news. And then in high school, a friend introduced me to the concept of you can really make a career out of this. And so for 20 years, I worked behind the scenes as a television news producer. Any major big story you could think of that happened in the last 20 years, I've had the great pleasure of covering those news stories. And from going from behind the scenes as a television news producer to now owning my own company and working with brands like Kellogg, um, Boeing, LinkedIn Learning. It came because Periscope came on the scene, which gave all of us the capability of live streaming on our smartphone. And I was an early adopter. I embraced it because I knew that this was going to disrupt how we do media. I knew it. I knew that this was going to be a disruption. And so I embraced it. And from doing that, I was able to leave my television news job, doubled my TV salary within 6 months, and became an international speaker, Amazon best-selling author, and the list goes on of some great entrepreneurs and companies and businesses that we had the pleasure of working with.
That's amazing. And you saying how you've pivoted kind of
Mm,
leads us into one of the main reasons why I wanted you here,
yes,
because January kind of started with violence in the world of social media. And I say this
yes,
because we saw Shannon Sharp shift out of one seat to
hmm,
Club Shay Shay.
yes,
In 2024, if you're a podcaster in media, the Cat Williams interview, like, Uncle Shay Shay, he had some followers and views, but that interview catapulted to what, almost 10 million views now.
yeah.
And so, how do you, Rose, speak to those that pivot out of one space into another and maybe their success, they're doing okay,
Hmm.
but then it's like explosive. So, what does pivoting in social media look like for someone in a digital media spaces? Because it's like we could just be one interview away, one
Yes.
post away. Just unpacking the whole conversation around the Cat Williams interview with Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, I listened to that Cat Williams interview, and there was a lot of communication takeaways and things you could have gotten from that interview. I think one of the things that I am seeing, and I don't know if it's a mindset shift when it comes to pivoting, but I will say this that I want people to start thinking about is if you are a creator, a podcaster, a thought leader, an expert in the social media space, what we're doing is not about being social. It is long gone beyond that. What we're doing is building our own media network, our own media channels. I mean, think about it. Uncle Shannon does an interview with Cat Williams, and he received viewers as if it was a Super Bowl ad. I mean, what? And let's not even talk about the payment and the money he received from that one interview. And so, what we have to understand is the narrative has changed. There are no longer any more gatekeepers when it comes to media. And as I talk about in the book, CEO of Live Video, the revolution will not be televised, it will be live streamed. And so we have to understand that what we're doing is creating our own media channel, much like MSNBC, CBS, whatever your favorite channel is, Netflix, Hulu, you are doing that and you have the power of that in your hand. When you understand that, you start to look at your content creation process very differently. You start to look at monetizing this very differently. I mean, we're in a season, Camille, where people are selling catalogs of their content that's housed on YouTube. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I mean, to work with a brand like LinkedIn and create a course with them off of what I know is just mind blowing. And to benefit from it, both in followers, monetizing it, etc., is just unbelievable. So I think people are pivoting because they're seeing before them that this is not just social media. Let's drop the social. This is heavy on the media part.
Yes. Also, too, I think, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
marginalized communities, we're tired of people taking control of our stories and giving out misinformation, cutting us
Right.
out of history, cutting us out of culture. And it's just like, no, this is what happened. This is what's really going on, not just in the past, but even now with law enforcement, corporations,
Hmm.
day to day. And so we have the power to actually tell our story in real time. You look at Risa
Yes.
Tisa, this woman, she did a 50-part series on Who Did I Marry, like,
And blew up.
blew up. And so
Yes. Telling her story.
telling her story, telling her truth. And so people came for her like, oh, worried about how much money she made. At the time, she just used it as a space to tell her story because
Hmm.
out of brokenness. And
Right.
so looking at the whole Cat Williams and Shannon Sharp situation, we have so many pieces of content in our phone. How many times certain clips repurposing content?
Yes.
So let's talk about that because
Hmm.
I've seen people do a photo shoot. I get it, you're excited, but not to unload 150 photos from your photo shoot on your social media.
Oh,
Like
it's my
learning how
pet
to
peeve.
mine too. I'm like, okay, you had a family vacation, you upload all the content. How can we speak to people? I know it's like preaching to the choir for some,
Hmm.
because this is my thing too. Let's unpack how Shannon repurposed his content and how
Yeah.
powerful recirculating content really can be if you use it properly.
Well, it's an extension of what I said about looking at what we're doing in this space as a media channel.
Yes.
And the second part of that is thinking like a producer. So
Mm,
I have the benefit of working as a television news producer. I automatically think like this
yes.
because 20 years of in the industry, you're taught like this. You're taught to repurpose content. The big story at 5 o'clock becomes a smaller story at 5:30. It becomes another version of the story at 6 o'clock. It becomes an extended story at 7, teasing to 11 o'clock. That's all repurposed. One story repurposed several ways. So when I came into the digital space and people were talking about repurposing content, I was already doing it
Mm,
because that's what I learned in TV. So I think it's really developing this mindset of what we teach our clients: consumer versus producer.
mm,
A consumer scrolls, a producer creates the content that you watch, and I get paid. So it's understanding that when I'm creating this content, like for me, when I go on family vacation. So we did spring break recently and we went to the Tennessee mountains. I mean, like we were really up in the mountains. Like I can laugh at this now and say it. Camille, this house looked like a scene from Get Out. I'm not even kidding you. I was very
that's my home
concerned.
state. So, I'm from
Oh,
Tennessee.
okay. We were in Chattanooga and we were up in the mountains.
Say less. I already know.
Okay. You already know.
Yes.
So the first video that I created was showing people like quick snapshots of the things that we did in Chattanooga. We did the
Yes.
incline mountain thing, we did a city scavenger hunt, all those things. I still have more content. The next piece of content is I'm going to show people the house that we stayed in, right? And make a funny video about you guys. This house looked like a scene from like Get Out, right? And I'm going to show little clips. The other thing is, there was me standing in front of a theater. I'm going to talk about when I was in middle school and how I used to take theater classes and relate that to the content and my thought leadership. You see, but that's all thinking like a producer and saying to yourself, what are the stories that are around these pieces of content, instead of just dumping it on people and you just got it out the way and not understand how can I extend the life of this message and these pieces of content.
Yes. I think a lot of people are so focused on going viral, you don't realize
Yeah.
unpacking that. And so going deeper into this conversation, Ro, the power of our story. Because I know I've had people tell me, Camille, you have a story to tell.
Hmm.
You should get out there and just be transparent. And it's tough because it's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And I know we can do that, but how do we do that and not put everything out there? Because I feel
Hmm.
like, do you really have to tell everything? And some
Yeah.
people do, that's fine. But it's like be transparent, but still hold some for yourself. Like
Hmm.
how do we walk that line of transparency in today's culture?
We are told, and especially on TikTok, right?
Yes.
Tell your story, speak your truth. Transparency is the new currency. You need to be vulnerable. Here's the thing about storytelling: it has to resonate with the people who are listening to it, right?
Yes.
And so I could sit here and tell a story, but if it doesn't resonate to the people that I'm speaking to, the people that I want to ultimately become a part of my community, or I want them to see me and in return them being seen, then it just falls flat and it's pointless. The
Yes.
problem with storytelling that I see that people are doing nowadays is everybody wants to tell their story, but they're not thinking about necessarily, especially those who are business owners. They're not thinking about, yes, my story is about me, but it's not for me.
Mm.
So this story of me telling this story, it has to resonate with the person who's listening. So that means this story is bigger than me. And a lot of times we just want to tell the story and we just want to get it out there because people need to know. But do they really need to know all the details on your divorce? Or they just need to know that you had a divorce, it was really messy, but you bounced back and look at me now, right? Do they really need to know the details of, your trauma? There's a whole hashtag called trauma TikTok, and people are trauma bonding. Yes.
That's not healthy.
It's not healthy. And
I didn't
people
know
are
that
trauma
existed.
bonding.
What?
Yes. People are trauma bonding and not understanding, okay, yes, your story is messy. I get it. But how have you taken this pain and turned it into purpose? Everybody
Yeah,
wants a hero story. Everybody
right.
wants a happy ending. And it's kind of what I learned in TV. My first executive producer, Allison Andrews, who's now a very dear friend, when I was a young producer, would tell me, Roshanda, do not take your audience on an emotional roller coaster. And what she was
Mm,
telling me is, don't sit here and start off with one crime story, another crime story, another crime story. Furry cats, more crime, weather.
like the yo-yo, you're up and down,
You're
like,
up
that's
and
a
down
lot.
doing this newscast. She's like,
Yes.
so I said, well, there's a lot of crime. She's like, yeah, but do we need to tell it all? Does your audience need that all in the morning show? Do
Mm,
do we have a, any updates about these crime stories that happened the
yes,
night before? Is what is the point? And what she was telling me is this newscast, this broadcast is bigger than just you. You got to think about the people who are on the other side of the screen.
yes. Yeah, I think, like, for me, I tend to not watch the news while getting ready for work just because
Hmm.
that's not how I want to start my day.
Yeah.
So I listen to more positive things, whether it's, I love Dr. Cindy Trim. I listen to her
Hmm.
every like, twice a day at least. I listen to sermons or something inspirational or music because I don't know what I've gotta face going out the door, and I don't
So
wanna
true.
listen to hearing 4 people got shot, this person got like, that's
Yeah.
a lot, and so I tend to give myself time to catch up on the news after I've had my morning coffee and all that, after I've gotten to work and gotten into my morning, say, "Okay, well, what happened overnight?" Then I'll check
Hmm.
in, but just to start my day, that is not how for me, I just avoid turning the news on in the morning.
Yeah. It's heavy.
It's
And
heavy.
I often tell people when I worked in TV, I have seen the best and worst of humanity in 24 hours.
I bet.
And so I can imagine about protecting yourself. And guess what? It's the same thing on social.
Yes,
That you can scroll through social and you're like, oh my gosh, the
yes,
world is blowing up. What
yes,
is going on? And
yes,
so you kind of see now those same things in these digital streets.
and also you were mentioning the trauma talk, Roshanda, it made me
Hmm.
think that's a breeding ground for narcissists. If someone's looking for someone vulnerable,
Yes.
that is the perfect place to hide out and be this person, like the boogeyman is in the comments because you have all
Yeah.
these traumatized people, like, that is so
Hmm.
scary, like, thinking about that.
It is. And for some people, they want an opportunity to tell their story. They want an
Yeah,
opportunity to give voice to what they were told to keep quiet about. I
mm,
get that. But sometimes social media is not the place to do that from that space. You need to go talk to a therapist because
very
I have seen people give way too much information, way too much details, and I'm thinking, having worked as a in the space of sexual assault victims
yes,
and survivors and having been a board member for an agency, that was one of the things that I learned that and I was taught that you will have predators who take great joy in listening to your trauma story. It's just it's too much. And we
it's
we
way
have
too
to be aware of that.
That's way too much. So getting, deeper into this, um, representation matters, and we've seen,
Mhm.
the rise of Black women in various spaces. Shout out to Dawn Staley and the Gay Pack
Yeah.
winning. I was rooting for her the whole way. Even
Yes.
though my other brackets were busted, I
Yes.
had, um, her team is taking it all again. So
Mhm.
everything else was wrong on my bracket, but that was right. So I was like,
Yes.
I got one.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited about that. But we're seeing Black women rise to the top and just the power of presence and proximity, particularly for brown skinned girls like us.
Mhm.
Can you kind of speak on how important it is for us to continue to show up, continue to be present, to whether if it's in a
Mhm.
corporate space, classroom, wherever? Like, what is that like for you? And what do you say to women like us or the little girls that will be us in the future?
Yeah. One of the things that I talk about a lot is visibility is power. You deserve to be seen, heard, and paid. And it's really a mantra. It's a thing that I live by. It's a part of our company DNA, is because what I know to be true is your story gives others permission. And when you show up, in places and spaces where you know it was thought of that you wouldn't be there, when you are doing something for the first time, when you're pioneering something, or you're an innovator, or you're a disruptor, you're giving permission to the next generation now. And so I think it's so important and valuable that women like us understand their importance of being at the table. And if they won't let you be at the table, then you build your own table, and then you bring other women like yourself to be a part of it.
That's so good, especially when we're in this culture now of the powers that be wanting to erase DEI and
Mhm.
erase certain programs. And it's very scary. And so, although it is happening, media spaces, it's even more important now, whether if it's, podcasting, writing amazing books, starting
Mhm.
our channels, because we need to be able to control our story, our narrative, how we're portrayed, you know.
Yes.
All these things are so important. So I definitely agree with that. And
And
in
that's the
that,
power of creating content, Camille.
yes,
That's the power of creating content, because you create this piece of content, whether it's video or an email, whatever, and it has a long shelf life. Generations could go back and see, this is what happened in 2024. This is what happened in 2022. When you create the content, your content really is speaking to legacy.
it's a digital yearbook, like a digital
Yes.
history book. And it's like, imagine what those before us, if they had this. And even what we know about the civil rights era or slavery,
Yes. Hmm.
imagine how much more information would have been documented if our ancestors had social media. Can you imagine one of
Correct.
my ancestors on the ship in the transatlantic going, "Hey, we're live in the bottom of," like, can you imagine
Oh,
that?
yeah. Hmm.
So to see how powerful it is now and how critical it is right now, we have to be mindful of what we're putting out there. And because of the clouds and things like that, it's pretty much forever. It's
Hmm.
not like back in the day, if you burned a letter, that was it, nobody knew.
Right.
Because of these digital thumbprints and footprints and fingerprints, it's out there. Even if you delete it, erase it, it's there. So
Correct.
just being mindful of comments, posts, things we say, how we show up, it's that serious.
Yes. I agree. I totally agree.
It's that
So
serious.
powerful.
Yes. What do you say to those that may be, you hear stories of those the 9 to 5ers, and they're
Hmm.
losing their jobs because their social media channels are doing so well.
Yeah.
There was a Black lady, I forget what state she was in, she was an attorney, and I was watching her videos on TikTok, and her law firm fired her, doing very well at her firm, but because she had so many millions of followers on TikTok, they had
Yeah.
made her like, "You need to be an are you gonna be an attorney? Or are you gonna be a social," and so she ended up quitting her job.
Yeah, I think we're in a crossroads here. And I was just having this conversation with someone yesterday about this, that we are at a time and space in history where businesses, while we have had to learn how to innovate, businesses are going to have to learn how to innovate as well. I was having a conversation with a former colleague, and we're talking about, journalism, and how it's a dwindling profession, right? And we have to learn how to innovate, how to look at things differently, how to allow people to build a personal brand while they are working their nine to thrive. understanding how to bring on people who may have these outside interests and how you can marry that to what your company culture is, etc. And I think that's a lot of what we learned in 2020 during the pandemic here in the US is people understanding that we have to give people space to build the work culture differently.
Yeah.
I sit here, Camila, and I think about in my profession in journalism, we could have been doing Zoom interviews long time ago. Now
Saving
it's just
money, saving the station thousands of
saving people
dollars.
money, but you know what else I think that does too is I think about one of my colleagues said, Rashawn, I never thought I would be producing the news about a pandemic from my house because they had to have laptops outfitted to do the show from home because you can't come into the station, it's dangerous, pandemic, COVID, all those things. And I sat there when she said that and I said, you mean to tell me all those times I worked 13-hour days,
Could have been at the
someone
house.
could have just innovated, see, embrace innovation early, outfitted a laptop for me with everything that I needed, send me home to go rest and say, hey, log on your laptop, everything that you need is there. And I think so many times we innovate too late when we're forced to do it, when our hand is forced to do it, instead of
Yeah.
being on the front of it and
Yeah.
saying, we need to embrace using Zoom. We need to embrace doing X, Y, and Z because this will help with our company culture and this will
Yeah.
help. Our employees feel valued, feel seen, etc.
Yes, I think even with the mental health standpoint,
Hmm.
we see a lot of companies trying to force people back to work, and a lot of people are like, "No, I don't wanna do that. I like hybrid, I like working remote," because,
Hmm.
they have more time with their families or just a break from the office antics and politics and just to have more balance. Even with remote time, let's say, having lunch at home, you're saving money because you're not running to Starbucks, you're not running to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
That in between that hour, I could go take a walk outside, I can do some laundry, and have some other things around the house done, so at the end of the day, I have more time with my family or friends to kind of,
agreed.
exhale, and even in that space, when we think about, the remote situation, it kind of think makes me think of the word micromanagement because when
Oh, yeah.
and I think
Oh,
a lot of companies, that's the bottom line of it, that micromanagement. They want to see what everyone's doing it every minute and every time of the day, and it's like, is that
Jesus.
really necessary? If I'm doing my
Right.
job and everything's getting done, why does it matter what I'm doing off the clock? I'm not in company time doing whatever, like,
Correct.
it shouldn't matter, and you look at so I'm here in Charlotte, and,
Mhm.
the weather guy here, Nick's I forget his last
Nick
name.
Kozer,
Yes, so
dancing weather guy.
I was about to say he
Yes.
blew up dancing, and more people started watching the station because they wanted to see the weatherman,
Yep.
and I'm not even sure I don't remember the last time I've even seen him do the weather because he's always dancing somewhere,
Oh,
but
he's in he left the station. Honey, he got a bigger gig and he's in New York.
yeah, I see him on Times Square, so I get yes,
Yeah.
but he
So he's now
dan
works at a station in New York.
yes, and so I'm just like, again, proximity and pivot and how his personality catapulted him into a space, just like with Shannon Sharp, the whole meltdown with him and Skip Bayless,
Yeah.
and him being a black guy in that space, constantly having to combat his presence and his opinion. And he was just like, we felt like as black people, he should have left. Like, why did you stay so long? But I
Mhm.
think after that whole, put the glasses on situation and him to go over and start his podcast again, creating spaces, powering the pivot, turning the losses into launches, you know,
Mhm. I
it's
love that.
yes, and so I feel like even him being the weatherman or Shannon Sharp or either you or I, even how you've transitioned, taking those losses into launches. Let's
I
talk
love
about
that.
it.
I think one of the things is writing your own permission slip. I'm very
Mm,
big on that. Giving yourself permission to do the thing, and I think that's what we see with Shannon Sharp. That he had, there was almost but so much he can do, and he decided, you know what, I'm gonna bet on myself, and I'm gonna write my own permission slip, and I'm gonna show up. And so he took the loss and turned it into launch, like you said, and he took the pain and turned it into purpose. And I love stories like that because, again, it gives us permission to do the same.
How do we do this as far as, and this question, I guess, is a personal question for me
Hmm.
and others watching in this space of I'm still a youngster in the social media world or the digital media
Hmm.
world. I feel like I'm more of a digital creator and I'm a platform creator, I guess, with the podcasting. And I've really fallen in love with this. I've fallen in love with this. How do we do this and not get caught up in the trends and we stay true to our voice and remember our why and our mission? And yes, you can create a funny video over here or whatever. I've had individuals suggest to me, "Oh, you should do this and do that." And when I hear those things, something inside of me goes, "Mm-mm, stay the
Yeah.
course. Don't do that."
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I've been very intentional about, guests and conversations and certain topics because at the end of the day, on TikTok we can have fun, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the mission is still the mission.
Hmm. I think it's doing the things that you're doing now. What I hear you saying is you're staying authentic to why I started. You're remembering your North Star. The North Star is the why. Well, excuse me, your why is your North Star that directs everything that you do. And that's what I'm hearing you saying that you're doing. You're staying authentic and true to why you started. And I think what causes burnout, what causes us to get off track is when we're trying to chase shiny objects, when we're trying to do it like everyone else instead of staying true to how the creator told you to do it and being authentically you while you're doing it. And so I think those things is what holds us accountable when you do those things.
Awesome, thank you. I want
Hmm.
to dive into this book a little bit.
Okay.
And um one of the questions you asked, what is the goal?
Yeah.
What is the goal? You said, why are you making this video? What is the objective? Before you start, make a plan to promote your live stream. When promoting, go beyond the current platform and do multi-platform outreach, inviting
Hmm.
emails to subscribers, blog readers, and other social media followers. What is your end goal? Is this
Yeah.
to go viral? Is this to get a lot of followers? Is this to tell your
Mm.
story? Is this to change a life? Is this to broker a bigger deal? Like what is why, remember, why is your why? Why
Yeah.
is your why?
Every video should have a goal. Every
Yes.
video. And so we talk a lot about this viral thing. I'm not big on the viral thing because what I have learned in being on TV and seeing this, most people who are going viral don't even have a plan for it,
They don't have
right?
a catalog.
They don't have a catalog, they don't have a plan for it, they don't know how to monetize it, they're usually not prepared to go viral. It's so unpredictable, it's so like one hit wonder. Sometimes it's not even truly your audience and the people that you want to connect with. So I'm never trying to go viral. What I want to do is remain relevant.
Long term, what is the long goal
Yes, I
here?
want to remain relevant. And
Yes.
when you're relevant, you're the one that people are always calling on.
Yeah, I like that. So, during our Clubhouse days,
Yeah, oh gosh,
you
girl, you
dropped
done took it back. Clubhouse. Jeez.
it's vintage social media, right?
Yes, vintage
So
social.
and so during the Clubhouse days, you said something, and I've been doing it, and even though I'm like slow and steady wins the race,
Yeah.
now looking back on it post-pandemic, I'm like, "Oh, when my door opens, I'm gonna have many receipts
Come on.
because I planted myself in various areas within the realm of social media. Like I have my TikTok,
Mhm.
but I have my YouTube, right? And
Mhm.
I remember you saying that you're like the traffic director. You have to direct people, but they
Mhm.
also want to know more about you. So on TikTok, it's more of like my lifestyle side. I drop in
Mhm.
some podcast nuggets, but it's like, oh, living, cooking, fashion, things I like.
Yeah.
But I'm slowly beginning to roll that stuff over to YouTube. And so, I went
Mhm.
on my YouTube, the dashboard between my podcasting videos, my shorts. I have like 800 and something videos on YouTube.
I love this.
My catalog, yes. And as of my last episode I published to like because I'm on iHeart, Pandora, etc. I have
Mhm.
125 streaming episodes across YouTube. I mean across iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify. So when my turn comes, I have a trail. I have a
Can we
trail.
just celebrate that for a second? Yes! You guys put on some
125
hearts, put
streaming
some love.
episodes across digital services and then over 800 something videos on YouTube
That's so
because
good.
someone told me, actually it was Seals the Man. Shout out to Seals. He said, Cam, he was like, or C, he calls me C. He said,
Mhm.
when your time comes, he said, you're gonna have something go viral. He said, but the thing is, they're gonna like it and they're gonna wonder, has she done anything else?
Yeah,
And he said, what they will do is consume everything you've created.
correct.
Oh, wait, she's on TikTok. They're gonna he said, and because you have left so many breadcrumbs,
Crumbs,
he
yes.
was like, you're gonna have longevity.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
I was like, and I remember that because not even kidding, no cap, as the kids say, it was from a conversation we had in Clubhouse.
That's so powerful. That makes me so happy. That's awesome. How do you feel about that goal? How do you feel about seeing that?
It is shocking because I'm like, I really have published 125 podcast episode, like,
Mhm.
and I'm about to have 10,000 downloads, on those services. And I guess going through it, it feels like, really? I don't
I really
like,
did it. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like it hasn't clicked yet. But when I was really scrolling, I was like, I've been working. But when you're graced for it, it's not work.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's so powerful. I'm so excited for you. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
So y'all need to listen to Roshanda because she will lead you
Buy the
if you
book.
follow.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
love it.
So, what's been going on in your world as we start to wrap things up? Like,
Mhm.
what we've been talking about this book. I
Yeah.
want you to discuss it a little bit more, and then
Mhm.
also where people can get this.
Yeah. You know, what's been going on in my world is I'm really leaning into people becoming effective communicators so they can speak with confidence, clarity, and conviction.
Mhm.
And I really want to deal with leaders. These are the folks that are the disruptors, the innovators. These are the people who are driving change, and these are the truth tellers. And so I'm really excited that as a part of that truth telling process is getting more people to hit this go live button and show up on social media. And so the book CEO of Live Video talks a lot about everything from how to do a live video to how to tell your story on video, how to build a digital brand, my favorite resources and pieces of content, how to engage with your audience. For some people, this is very uncomfortable. It's not
It is
very,
very uncomfortable.
yes, it's very uncomfortable. Like, how do I engage with people? How do I talk with people? How do I have conversation? And
Yes,
so, what people have said, they've called this book, CEO of Live Video, a manual or the Bible for you to do live video. And I'm honored by that because I want you to be able to open this up and say, now let me go put to work what I just learned. And so I'm really excited, honestly, about what we've created. Totally excited about what we've created.
it's amazing. And
Hmm.
there's just little nuggets from every time we've spoken. I remember one time we were talking and you were talking about when you wear glasses, like how to get rid of the glare. To this
Hmm.
day,
Yeah.
I tell people, "Hey, move your light." And they're like, "Oh my god!" Like, and I'm like, "That's Dr. Rowe."
Thank you, Camille.
And that's just like you have so many little nuggets, and I'm like,
Hmm.
you might not be able to eat the whole loaf, but just get the breadcrumbs, get the croutons.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
over time, it turns into a slice of bread, and then it turns into a pita, and then,
Yes.
you know
There you go. Eat
yeah,
what you can,
yes, yes,
digest what you can, and do something with what you have.
I love it. So
Yes.
before we get everything wrapped up, do you have any last minute, like, takeaways or nuggets
Hmm.
for the listeners and viewers? Because definitely, you're coming back,
Yes.
and also where people can contact you via social media and where they can get this amazing book.
Okay. Well, the book is available right now on Amazon. Please make sure to get this is the second edition. So please make sure to get the one with my face on the cover right there. Okay. So it's at Amazon or any major book retailer. And I just want to remind people that you no longer have the right to remain silent. Your
Mm.
silence is not golden. Your visibility is power. You deserve to be seen, heard, and paid. Make sure to follow me on across social media at The Rose Show Live. And I'm hanging out these days over on LinkedIn as Roshanda Pratt. I look forward to seeing you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much. It
Thank you,
is
Camille.
always a joy when you come by. Um, every time you stop by, I'm like, Dr. Rose go, yay. So, because to
Thank
me,
you,
I
girl.
mean, people don't realize, I'm like, y'all, she's a big deal. Like, we
You're
literally
sweet.
have a boss here. So, if you have not done so, please follow her, listen to her lives, pop in when you can, get her book and
Thank
rock with
you.
her because she's a genuine person. She loves the Lord. She's not going to give you some misleading information just to gain
No,
a follower.
tried
She's
and
big,
true. Everything
tried
that's
and
in that
true.
book, I've tested it out myself.
Yes, she's a woman of integrity. If you've been following me here on this podcast, you know we don't do mess over here.
Yes,
The people over here, you know, I'm big on solid people,
I
legit
love
people,
it.
honest people, because I want to steward the space properly and well and with excellence. And so when I bring people here, it's not just to say, "Oh, I booked a person to fill a slot." Like I really think about who can I bring or bring back that I feel like will bring value and worth to the space for you all listening and watching. So don't just think, oh, I just threw so and so on the show. No.
Right, right. There's some
If-
intentionality.
yes. And if you look at the catalog, some people have not been back. So hello. Ding ding. Hello.
Oh man.
But
Thank
yes.
you, Camille. It's always a pleasure. And I'm so proud of you and how you are continuing to grow, how you're continuing to build. And I'm excited about your future.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I cannot look for I cannot wait and I look forward to the next one. So everyone, this is Camille Asick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Join us next Thursday. Next Thursday at 8 o'clock. The one and only celebrity photographer, videographer, graphic designer, AI king, Deshaun Gales. And he's also a member of the choir with Ricky Diller and New G.
Okay.
Deshaun Gales is coming through. So that is a conversation you do not want to miss. Hit that notification bell and subscribe. Be sure to follow us. I am all across various y'all need braces. I'm sorry, various platforms. We're on the podcast here, the Speaker Podcast on Facebook. We're also on YouTube at Camille Asick Official. Also on Instagram at Camille.Asick. Or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you at the Speaker Podcast at gmail.com. And this is the Speaker Podcast, the podcast where innovators and critics connect. Be blessed, be safe, have a good weekend. Hold on a second, row. All right, bye.